All right, so they had another judiciary hearing about the about Hunter Biden, and basically talking about how the Biden family has been benefiting from the presidency of Joe Biden, and how he accepted money from our enemies abroad and stuff like that. So they're having a committee where they have like these IRS officials that are coming, basically whistleblowers that are disclosing that the Biden family had multiple accounts in which they accepted monies from our enemies abroad. Okay, so basically, they're exposing that the president has been compromised, and they have all these people that are coming forward and just shedding light on all the criminal activity that's been going on while this guy has been president. So I'm gonna let this play for a little bit, and I'll further comment. I just wanted to kind of it's over 6 hours long. Obviously I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but just certain little highlights, certain little things I want to kind of touch on and point out. So I'll just start it from here.
And the IRS. The American people expect answers about whether the federal government is treating all taxpayers equally, or if the wealthy and politically connected get special treatment. Our committees are working together to get to the bottom of this abuse of power, and will work tirelessly to do so and to make sure it doesn't ever happen again. Americans should not have to accept two tiers of justice in this country. One if your last name is Biden, and one for everybody else. I want to thank both whistleblowers for coming forward publicly and for your testimony today. I yield to Mr. Jordan.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. The question is, who are you going to believe? April 26th, in front of the United States Senate, the Attorney General said David Weiss is in charge of the investigation. October 7th, in a meeting with Gary Shapley, one of the whistleblowers, David Weiss said, I'm not the deciding official. Who are you going to believe? On February 28th, I wrote the Attorney General asking him why there's no special counsel in the Hunter Biden investigation. He didn't respond, which is unusual in and of itself. They always respond to the Judiciary Committee when we write something to them. I wrote again on May 25th. Again, the Attorney General didn't respond, but David Weiss did. And here's what he said. June 7th, he said this: I have been granted ultimate authority over the matter, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges. That's what the U.S. Attorney said on June 7th. 3 weeks later, Mr. Weiss wrote me again, and he said this: I stand by what I wrote, but I wish to expand. Wow, already changing his story 23 days later. And he said this: my charging authority is geographically limited to my home district. Well, wait a minute. You just told me 23 days before you have ultimate authority. Now you change it. Then again, on July 10th, Mr. Weiss wrote Senator Graham, and he said this, paragraph 2, to clarify, I have not requested special counsel designation. Rather, I had discussions with departmental officials. Mr. Weiss can't get his story straight. 3 different stories in a 5-week time frame. On June 7th, he's Tarzan. He's super. I got ultimate authority. I can do what I want, file charges where I want, when I want, and how I want. June 30th, well, actually, no, I can't. And then, of course, on July 10th, he says, to clarify, I haven't requested special counsel status, but I've been talking to the folks at Maine Justice. 3 different positions in a little over a month. You know whose story hasn't changed? These 2 guys. Their testimony has been consistent. Throughout, their testimony has been the same. And guess what? 2 days ago, an FBI agent...
And see, the corruption is so blatant. It's so obvious that there's so much evidence pointing towards criminal activity, and at some point something's got to give. I mean, you can only expose something so long and keep shedding light on the situation, and then it gets to a point to where, okay, something has to be done. And that's what's been going on for the longest time. Even with this targeting stuff that we go through, we have plenty of video evidences. Just the quality of life that we experience within itself is proof of what we're going through, and that we have criminal activities that are being enacted upon us. So it's really good to see in government that you have people that are actually fighting to try to rid this country of this corruption. Okay. Um, I want to be very clear. I have no stake in any political party. I'm not a part of any political party. I have never voted in a day in my life. At the end of the day, all these people are devils to me. I've said that before. I will continue to say that again. But if you have a certain side that is trying to shed light on stuff that is affecting this country, stuff that is affecting what we're going through is being targeted, if they're trying to expose these programs that play a hand in our plight of what we're going through, I'm all for it. I mean, what else do we have? You know, you pray till you're blue in the face. You wait for something to fall out the sky to come and save you. I mean, has any of that happened? Okay, so maybe sometimes God will work through people to try to at least make what we're going through a little bit easier to deal with. At this point, basically any relief is better than no relief. So if they can go ahead and get rid of this FISA program, this FISA 702, this Patriot Act bullshit, or if they can heavily reform it to where, okay, if they're going to target someone, make it to where they at least they know that they've been alleged to have committed a crime, so that they have the ability to reap the benefit of the Constitution and the amendments that give us the liberty to have due process. Okay, with what's going on, you don't know why you're being targeted exactly. All you know is you're experiencing all this hell, and you don't know why. You don't know the reasoning, the solid reasoning as to why. So again, I'm all for the part of the government that is trying to expose this shit. Again, I know that they're all devils at the end of the day. They play the whole black and white paradigm, or dynamic rather. And that's how the devil has to come to you. They have to come to you as an angel of light, acting like they're there to help, but really there's a nefarious agenda at the end of it. So that has been my experience as far as what I've observed with the governments. That's why I've never taken part in voting for anybody. But at this point, there's so many people that are suffering at the hands of these psychological operation programs, these mobbing, organized stalking, and harassment programs, these COINTELPRO like tactic programs that they have out there, where they're commissioning citizens and even foreigners that are out here. There are people that are non-citizens that are out here terrorizing American citizens. Can you imagine that? People from across the border coming over here that have no business being over here, terrorizing American citizens. Can you imagine that shit? Never once would I have dreamt something like that could ever even happen in this country. So again, the hope is that they get rid of this program or heavily reform it. And as you know, America, this country of the United States of America is a trendsetter across the world. They're a conglomerate, they're a global leader. Okay? Everyone takes after the United States of America. Our influence is phenomenal, okay? So the hope is, if they are able to shut down this program, we can only hope that it will have a domino effect and shut down all the other programs that are tied into maliciously placing people on these watch lists, you know, for their for their destruction, okay? And don't forget, we have brothers and sisters that are going through this shit across the world as well. The targeted individuals are not just in the United States. As you've seen on quite a few videos on YouTube, you have people from all across the world, Australia, over there in Europe, that's going through this same shit. And the consensus is, whenever you try to move to get away from the targeting, it follows. And it's not necessarily the same people following you. It's that this program is rooted all over the place. Everywhere that you go, they have their agents, they have their people that they've commissioned to organize and facilitate your harassment. Your profile is passed around. Okay, so we're not the only ones that's going through this. So we can only hope that once it ends here, that it will have that domino effect, and it will also end in all the other countries and continents of the world. So I'm not going to play too much of this much longer. I just had a few things I wanted to point out. Again, it's over 6 hours long. There's just some highlights and stuff I wanted to point out. So let me finish playing. This dude's a badass. This dude, Jim Jordan, man, this dude is like He's asking all the right questions. His demeanor of conviction is just awesome. Like I love this guy. So let me finish playing this.
Confirmed their testimony. Who are you going to believe? The Justice Department can't get their story straight, changed 3 times in 33 days, or these 2 guys? The Justice Department that was found to censor Americans just 2 weeks ago from the federal court in Louisiana. The Justice Department that said moms and dads are terrorists. The Justice Department that said if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist.
See, does that not sound familiar? Don't that sound like the smear campaign of the targeting program? Okay? How they will go to the communities that the target is living in. Wherever the target moves to, they have their agents, these agent provocateurs, these handlers. The information is passed on to them, and they spread the campaign, spreading blatant lies and half truths, not knowing exactly what happened or what's going on. This is what these motherfuckers do. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story real quick. So I had an ex-girlfriend that I was dating out here in Florida. She was an agent. Okay, and I used to go over to her apartment. We spent a lot of time at her place, and they had these maintenance crew. As you know, if you're targeted, you know these maintenance people are all involved in it. A lot of them are, from Mexico or from these other third world country type places. So basically, that apartment complex got alerted as to my presence there, and of course the shenanigans started. So there was one day that me and my girlfriend were getting ready to leave to go back to my side of town so she could spend time at my place. And I come out the apartment, and the maintenance dude drives up with a golf cart, damn near hitting me. Like he drove the golf cart like right behind me. He was basically at my heels with this fucking golf cart. So I got in his face about the shit and basically just letting him know I didn't appreciate that kind of thing. And he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to work, blah 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 blah." And I kind of like waved my hands around in his face or whatever. I didn't hit the dude. Do you know they had a bitch upstairs on the same level where my girlfriend was staying, to the right of her on the second floor? This bitch was in the window recording the whole situation. So what was done is that they took that recording where it appeared as if I hit this guy when I didn't even fucking touch him. I had my hands in his face, but I didn't touch him. Okay? So what they'll do is they will take that recording from the angle that she was recording, right? It looked as if I did make contact, and that's not even what happened. Okay? They'll take that shit and distribute it around the community and say, "Oh, this dude's a menace. He terrorizes the workers and all this kind of stuff." No. These people engage in psychological operations against you. Okay? First and foremost, a lot of these people aren't even supposed to be in this fucking country. They're illegal immigrants. Okay? How is it that you can have an illegal immigrant come over to this country and terrorize people that were fucking born here? First and foremost. Okay? A lot of these people that work in these apartment complexes, these maintenance people, are commissioned to involve themselves in this harassment. These people will fuck with your vehicle. Okay? They have done all kind of manner of evil that I've observed with my own fucking eyes. All right? And it's all in an effort to try to get you to react and respond in a manner that would warrant law enforcement encounter. That's the whole purpose of what they're doing. So, going to what Jim Jordan was speaking of, talking about how they have the smear campaigns and how they're going after parents that are concerned about their kids' welfare at school and stuff like that, how they're being labeled terrorists. That's the same tactics that they're using for people in the community that are targeted. The same shit. Let me finish playing this stuff.
The Justice Department that can't get his story straight are these 2 guys. 10 years, over a decade of experience for each of them. The go-to guys in international tax evasion cases. The A-team when it comes to investigating these matters. All over the world they've done this. And who've been consistent throughout. I think I'll believe these guys. I think they're the ones telling the truth. And that is fundamentally what this comes down to. So God bless you guys for the work you've done, the courage you have, and for being here today, stepping forward because you care about equal treatment under the law. That's what's at stake, plain and simple. I yield back.
I now yield to the ranking member, Mr. Raskins of Maryland, for his opening statement.
Who let thug life up in this bitch? What is this thing on this dude's head? I mean, I heard something about like, he's going through cancer treatment or something like that. But this dude is such a fucking scumbag. Like you could just tell that this dude is just straight up criminal. Like how he's just standing up for this president who is a criminal. Who they have mounds of evidence against this dude for accepting monies from our enemies abroad. He's benefiting from his presidency. He's trying to get rich while the country is being wrecked. And there was something I wanted to point out about this dude specifically. That's why I wanted to continue to play this for a little bit longer. So we'll get to that point. Let me carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to the witnesses. I thought we might be here today on the matter that the chairman declared as top priority, the crusade to find evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden. But now the majority's long-promised star witness turns out to be a fugitive from American justice, an arms trafficker indicted on 8 federal criminal felony counts and an unregistered foreign agent for China who tried to trade Chinese arms for Iranian oil. So I guess he's not going to be a witness for the majority anytime soon. Well, after the failed SARS reports, bank records, Form 1023, we can conclude that this Inspector Clouseau-style quest for something that doesn't exist has turned our committee into a theater of the absurd, an exercise in futility and embarrassment. And now we can finally definitively say why the committee's efforts have run dry time and again. Just yesterday, Mr. Chairman, you and I got a letter from Lev Parnas, the Ukrainian-born American businessman who was at Rudy Giuliani's side as his right-hand man for a year between November 2018 to October 2019, as Giuliani and then President Trump tried to smear Joe Biden before the 2020 election with the very same allegations we're still running through the political spin cycle every week in this committee. I request unanimous consent to enter the Parnas letter into the record. Without objection to order. Now, in this extraordinary 10-page letter, Parnas painstakingly describes the campaign orchestrated by Giuliani and Trump to, quote, dig up dirt on the Bidens and spread misinformation about them through various networks, including government officials, journalists, and Fox News personnel. After explaining this campaign to fabricate corruption charges against Biden, Parnas concludes his letter by saying, throughout all these months of work, the extensive campaigns and networking done by Trump allies and Giuliani associates, including the enormously thorough interviews and assignments that I undertook, quote, there has never been any evidence that Hunter or Joe Biden committed any crimes related to Ukrainian politics. Never during any of my communications with Ukrainian officials or connections to Burisma did any of them confirm or provide concrete facts linking the Bidens to illegal activities. As Mr. Parnas concludes, there's never been any factual evidence, only conspiracy theories spread by people who knew exactly what they were doing, and then he calls on this committee to end its wild goose chase and offers to come and testify. Remember, this is Mr. Giuliani's guy. This is his interpreter and right-hand man who spent a year out there trying to cook the books against Joe Biden, and he offers to come testify. So if anyone doubts anything he's saying, let's bring him in as a witness, and let's hear about that crusade that they were on to smear President Biden by promoting the same baseless conspiracy theories that this committee serves up as moldy.
They're so weak. They're coming up with all this other bullshit, trying to say, oh, Biden's a victim and all this other kind of shit. There's nothing that this dude is saying, nor have the other people have said pertaining to Biden. What he has done with the evidence that they have against Biden is so just blatant, right? So all this blah, blah, blah that this dude's talking about, where's your evidence? Where's the evidence of any of what he's saying? I almost want to fast forward through him, but we'll continue to listen a little bit more.
Leftovers.
Again, I am not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm all about the truth. Whatever side is shedding light on the truth, that's what I want to go with, the truth.
Every day. At today's hearing, we're going to hear about wrongdoing by Hunter Biden, who's pleading guilty on 2 tax charges and a gun charge next week. We'll hear about the back and forth among investigators, prosecutors, and a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, over a dozen people who spent 4 years investigating the president's son. We'll hear about how they disagreed on investigative steps and what criminal charges to bring, all normal stuff in government investigations that doesn't usually lead to a congressional hearing. But one thing you will not hear today is any evidence of wrongdoing by President Joe Biden or his administration. Like every other try by our colleagues to concoct a scandal about President Biden, this one is a complete and total bust. In fact, the ongoing case that the majority invites us to interfere with today is actually a striking illustration of the success of the American system of independent prosecutors operating under the rule of law and outside the realm of the kind of political influence my colleagues are trying to exercise today. So what happened? Well, the son of the sitting president of the United States lost his brother and then lost his way badly back in 2015. As too many families around the country know, drug addiction is a dark and powerful affliction. And like other addicts, Hunter Biden made...
You can see just the haze of darkness around this dude. Like there's no sense of justice. There's no sense of righteousness within him. I don't know if y'all can see it too, but I just see just this aura of darkness around him and just corruption. It just this what we're looking at here is just reeks of corruption.
Made foolish and criminal choices, including failing to pay his taxes and owning a firearm in violation of federal law. And he's now being held criminally accountable for it. His investigation began under the Trump administration. It was conducted by a U.S. attorney for Delaware, David Weiss, who Donald Trump appointed to his office and who Attorney General Barr chose for this assignment to conduct this investigation. In his final press conference in December of 2020, Attorney General Barr expressed full confidence in Weiss's work, saying it was, quote, being handled responsibly and professionally within the department, and to this point I have seen no reason to appoint a special counsel, and I have no plan to do so before I leave. Furthermore, Joe Biden never publicly questioned or challenged this prosecution. When it began, he did not decry it as a witch hunt by Donald Trump. He placed his trust in the fairness of the American justice system. When he became president, not only did he not use his power to halt the investigation, he kept in place Trump's handpicked U.S. attorney, Mr. Weiss, overseeing it, even though incoming presidents usually replace U.S. attorneys with their own appointees. And his attorney general, Merrick Garland, made sure that Mr. Weiss, appointed by Donald Trump, had full authority and...
All right, I'm gonna skip through all this crap. I'm trying to get to a certain point here. All right, I think it's right here. Start right there.
Key point, Mr. Chairman, that America needs to understand is that the only political interference at play here is coming from Donald Trump and my Republican colleagues. We'll listen carefully to the testimony, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The ranking member yields back. I'd like to remind the members and the public that Section 6103 of the Tax Code...
This dude here is another good one, too. I like him. You know, him and Jim Jordan, the dynamic duo that's just calling all this corruption out and doing all that they can to investigate and shed light on it. It's just they're doing such a great job at it. I don't think they could have anybody better doing it.
Makes taxpayer information confidential except in certain circumstances. One of those exceptions is the process the Ways and Means Committee used to receive testimony from these whistleblowers and report transcripts of their testimony to the full House of Representatives to make that information public. These whistleblowers have gone above and beyond to submit information to Congress in accordance with the law, and we are grateful to them for that. The witnesses can only testify to tax information that has already been released through proper procedures through the Ways and Means Committee. This means that in some instances they may have to decline to answer a question and instead submit additional information to the Ways and Means Committee at a later date through the appropriate process. They are each accompanied by counsel to address questions that arise on Section 6103 and are not present today to provide testimony or answer members' questions. I ask members to respect that process and requirements of Section 6103 and look forward to hearing what our courageous witnesses have to say. Further, due to the complex nature of the matter at hand, each of the witnesses shall have 10 minutes for their opening testimony. I would now like to introduce our witnesses. Mr. Joseph Ziegler is a special agent with the Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation Division, specifically assigned to the International Tax and Financial Crimes Division. This is a group of 12 elite special agents who are subject matter experts in complex international tax.
And see, what I want to point out is this dude Raskin, his facial expression, once the whistleblowers start talking, pay attention to his hands and just his whole facial expression. That's the part that I was trying to get to. That's coming up.
Tax and other related crimes. He started his career with the IRS in 2010 as a special agent and has developed and successfully completed a multitude of complex financial investigations. The types of investigations include money laundering, bank fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, healthcare fraud, violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, income tax evasion, and income tax-related charges, such as identity theft and filing false claims for income tax refunds. Mr. Ziegler has won multiple performance awards throughout his career in recognition for his work. And Mr. Gary Shapley. Mr. Shapley is the Supervisory Special Agent of the International Tax and Financial Crimes Group. Mr. Shapley started his career with the IRS in July 2009. He was detailed to the Department of Justice's Tax Division from 2013 to 2018, investigating foreign financial institutions. He was also assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force, working as a task force officer at both the FBI Washington Field Office and the FBI Baltimore Field Office. Mr. Shapley was promoted to Supervisory Special Agent of the Elite ITFC Group in 2018. He also served as the Assistant Special Agent in charge of both the New York Field Office and the Chicago Field Office. I want to again thank both gentlemen for their willingness to come forward and share their testimony today for the members of this committee and for the American people. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Let the record show that the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We appreciate you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statements and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Please press the button on your microphone in front of you so that it's on and the members can hear you. I recognize Mr. Ziegler to please begin his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, Chairman Smith, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee. Today, I sit here before you not as a hero or a victim, but as a whistleblower compelled to disclose the truth. That said, and coming.
You see how nervous this dude looks? Emotional intelligence. Look, he just clearly is very uncomfortable. He's got his hand over his mouth, almost as if like he's gesturing for these people to keep their mouth shut. Don't talk about this. And let's keep watching. He got some more little hands.
Forward, I believe I'm risking my career.
See? I almost want to say that's like some Masonic shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the finger over the mouth thing. And let's keep watching.
My reputation and my casework outside of the investigation we are here to discuss. I ultimately made the decision to come forward after what I believe were multiple attempts at blowing the whistle in the Internal Revenue Service, at the Internal Revenue Service. No one should be above the law, regardless of your political affiliation. I humbly view my role here today as providing the facts as I best understood them and to let Congress and the
He is clearly disturbed by what these people are about to say.
administration and the public consider those facts and determine the best path forward. I recognize why I was present at the start of this investigation and was closely involved with the investigation for roughly 5 years. I'm just a part of
She's a cutie. I like her.
the story. Others, including my colleague and Supervisor Gary Shapley, who is here with me today, have their own views and understandings of what took place during this investigation. I've been an agent with the IRS since 2010. In 2007, I received my undergraduate degree from Ohio University, my MBA from John Carroll University. Prior to starting my career at the IRS, I worked at Ernst & Young as an external auditor. Throughout my career with the IRS, I have worked a variety of successful criminal tax and money laundering investigations. In 2018, I transitioned to being a part of the International Tax and Financial Crimes Group out of the Washington, D.C. field office. I was the lead IRS case agent on the Hunter Biden investigation. I've recently discovered that people are saying that I must be more credible because I'm a Democrat who happens to be married to a man. I'm no more credible than this man sitting next to me due to my sexual orientation or my political beliefs. The truth is, my credibility comes today from my job experience with the IRS and my intimate knowledge of the agency's standard and procedures. I was raised and have always strived to do what is right. Although I do have my supporters, others have said that I am a traitor to the Democratic Party and that I am causing more division in our society. I implore you to consider that if you were in my position with the facts as I have stated them, ask yourself if you would be doing the exact same thing. I hope that I am an example to other LGBTQ people out there who are questioning doing the right thing at the potential cost of themselves and others. We should always do the right thing, no matter how painful the process might be. I kind of equate this to experience and feelings
See, it doesn't matter your race, color, creed, sexual orientation, whatever. The truth is what matters. Okay, and here you clearly have people with different backgrounds in this government that are trying to expose the evil and darkness that's going on. There is a dark force that has for a long time has had this stronghold over this country and in turn over the world, and it's like it's just good to see good people coming together to try to combat this thing. It's the same thing with the targeted community. Like there has to be a point to where people unite. There's only so much talking you can do. There comes a time to where the talking's done and now there has to be action. So it's just going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. I'm gonna stop it right here. It's just very important. Like I said, this has to do with the FISA 702 stuff. It's in relation to that. Just exposing this corrupt ass president. And yeah, the only thing we can do is just hope that they don't renew this shit. They just need to do away with it completely. You know, they need to go back to the to another way of ensuring national security, but at the same time making sure that the civil liberties of the citizens of this country are not being compromised. We can have both. There can certainly be both. Um, so yeah, it's just gonna be real interesting to see how it plays out. So December 31st again is the deadline for them to renew this shit. So we can only hope that they don't renew it. Um, and if the targeting subsides or if it completely stops, then we'll all know, you know, where this shit was coming from. You know, maybe it won't stop. Maybe they'll get rid of FISA, but then you'll have these other programs that are still there that would still, you know, uh, use the same tactics, but just with less, I guess, less funding or whatever, or less support because they have one program that shut down. I don't know. I'm really hopeful, and I really have faith that um, if they get rid of the FISA or if they heavily reform it, that it will also uh, have bearing on the other programs being reformed as well. So I never would have thought or dreamed that anything like this could happen in this country, man. I never would have thought that in my entire life. It's just I never thought I'd live to see this day of this type of thing going on. But yeah, you guys continue to stay strong. And just hang in there. Um, what is this? July. This month is almost out. August, September, October, November, December. So we're 4 or 5 months away. See how this stuff plays out. So just hang in there until the end of the year. Do what you got to do to be just to hang in there and just to keep yourself sane. Take care of yourself. Um, and that's all we can do is just hope. All we got is just hope and faith. Trying to think of something. I always have so much to say before I hit the record button, and then oftentimes while I'm doing these videos, my mind will go blank or I'll forget what I was gonna say. Let me play it a little bit more.
Encountered when coming out, it was honestly one of the hardest things I ever had to go through. I contemplated scenarios that would have been highly regrettable, but I did what is right, and I'm sitting here in front of you today. I would first like to take a minute to thank some people for their unfettered help and support. First off, God, for giving me the strength and courage to get through this process. My husband, who has been my rock, has put up with me, my stress, and has had to deal with with his personal information being out there. My attorney, Dean Zerby, who has agreed to represent me through this matter pro bono, and someone who has provided me so much help and guidance. My colleagues from the Hunter Biden investigation. The work that was done on this case is tremendous, but seems to be overshadowed by what is happening here today. And I just want to say to the investigative team that I am thankful for having worked with you. I also want to thank my family and friends back home in Northeast Ohio and Georgia. I don't live in the DC area. I had to fly here and have had to pay out of pocket for all my travel-related expenses in being a whistleblower. On that note, I would like to make another statement that I have not accepted a single payment from anyone for being a whistleblower. First,
Out of pocket and didn't have to pay him. Out of his own pocket, and they ain't got to pay him nothing for bringing forth the truth. That's what we need in this country. We need more people like that who cannot be bought. People who refuse to sell their souls. We need more people like that.
well, so, Mr. Chairman, while I have my written statement as well as my testimony before the Ways and Means Committee, I would like to touch on briefly 7 specific matters. First, in a recent letter to Congress, Mr. Weiss stated that he had been granted ultimate authority over this matter, but then later stated in the same letter that his charging authority is geographically limited and that he would need a President Biden-appointed U.S. attorney to partner with him in charging the case. Mr. Weiss stated that he was making all decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of the prosecution consistent with federal law, the principles of federal prosecution, and departmental regulations. In the Criminal Tax Manual, Chapter 10.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there. So, to me, that's why I felt like this is what made Trump such a really good president, is because Trump has his own money. You know, he was not compromised in any way, even though they talked about the whole Russian collusion bullshit, which came out, turned out to be just bullshit, a hoax or whatever. He's not compromised. He doesn't need the money from these foreigners, because he has his own money. So, I mean, common sense would tell you, like, wouldn't that be the better guy to go with? You clearly see what's going on with Biden and how he's, having these secret dealings with our enemies and accepting these monies, for his financial gain. So, I don't know. Again, I don't vote. I still ain't gonna vote. You know what I'm saying? I'm just sitting back and just observing all this shit play out. That's all I'm doing. I mean, granted, I did, submit my letters to some of the state representatives just so that there's record that I did send correspondence pertaining to my targeting, because there may come a time to where there might be compensation. First they got to expose the shit first, and then they got to get rid of these fucking programs. Then they have to assess all the damage that these programs have caused innocent American citizens who are just regular people trying to survive and make it, working 9 to 5s, overtime, working 2-3 jobs at a time, trying to take care of kids and family. And you got these dimwits, these degenerates, these fake ass patriots that they've commissioned to go around and terrorize you. Okay, so that's why I say it's important to at least submit something so that there's record that you did make an inquiry, and there's going to be a wonder as to why. Well, why was this person making an inquiry about being on a watch list? What was going on in that person's life? Because the average person they don't submit anything to the intelligence agencies or these departments for information on whether they're being on a watch list unless something's going on, right? So that's why I say at least have some sort of electronic evidence of you doing that. I've done that. You can go back to my previous video where I explain that. And yeah, it's just important to reach out to these people. And again, I don't view anybody as a savior. Nobody is going to save us but us. Nothing's going to fucking fall out the sky for you. We have to stand together as brothers and sisters in this struggle to shed light on this shit and expose it and come into a situation where we go into action in some kind of way to get this shit to end. There's so many targeted individuals out there that gave up. All these mass shootings that you see, some of these poor souls didn't even know what was going on, or they didn't even know what was happening to them. They had no idea what was going on with them. They probably never looked anything up online. All they knew was they were just being given a hard time everywhere that they went. And again, my heart goes out to them, to my heart goes out to their souls. I just pray and ask that the Creator have mercy on them for what they've done. And I totally understand what they did. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I agree with it or condone it. That's never going to be me. You know, not everybody is as strong-minded or strong-willed as some of us. So, you know, yeah, it's just it is crazy. Anyways, that's all I got for now. To my next upload.